Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-yay. I had a mega dose of vitamin C. I could have talked about this topic recently, a couple months ago. I want to keep it really, really simple because I believe if you can't explain something really simply, then you truly don't understand it, and that's undeniably so the case. Talking about power. There's two types of power, and of course we're talking about transcendence and we're talking about evil, and the two types of powers that are always reflective of what one goes towards is dependent upon what one understands, not what they know, i.e. episteme, empirical knowledge. I'm referring to wisdom. The lack thereof, of course, one goes towards another power. Just like this fire, which of course is not real on my computer screen here. I have a nice wood-burning stove up at my cabin, and everybody that has a wood-burning stove laughs at everybody else that doesn't have a wood-burning stove. And then it takes an enormous amount of logs to feed that sucker. And I've seen some YouTube videos of these people live in Scandinavia, and they got like a barn where like the wood is stacked 20 feet tall and like 10 feet deep, and like people are like, oh my God, what do you got so much wood for? It's ridiculous. And there's this chick, she lives in northern Sweden, I forget what her YouTube channel is. She's like, man, is all that wood you see there is like barely going to make us through the winter. And it's true, you have to perpetually keep, especially in the wintertime, keep feeding that sucker. You know, it's the insatiable, bottomless beast that must be fed. And that's the power that evil and ignorant people go after. They go after false power. There are direct analogies because the fundamental secret of this universe is understanding the conjugate geometry of the universe and the two principles of same, the dielectric and the magnetic. Undeniably so. Is this in reference to evil and the two types of powers? It absolutely is. I'd like to keep it extremely simple. Yeah. There's two powers. There's the power of inertia, of rest, of the absolute, i.e. the agathon or the one. And of course, that's the source of force. Yeah? The source of force. Not force itself, but the source of force. In the case of the ferrocell or that I've made like 1,000 videos of, that would be the black at the center of either face of the magnet, right? It's like, well, that's not light. Yeah, that's the actual true light, because what you think is light is actually illumination. This is genuine power, but calling it power is maybe not super appropriate. English is kind of clumsy when it comes to metaphysics, but it's definitely not force. It's the opposite of force. But that's the power which is not a power, it's force. But force by definition is a type of power, because force wielded, yeah? Think of the countless millions of ways evil people and beings have wielded force, and they think that's power. Well, it does things and it gets you things, and just think of all the countless times that force has been horribly used, and it's always horribly used by evil people. People think, evil people, ignorant people, they actually think that that's power. It's not. It's the mirage of power. It's the child or the offspring of true power, i.e. inertia. This is akin to magnetism. You want to talk about what is divine and what is evil? Keep it really, really simple. Yeah? The divine, people that they're interested in genuine power, that would be something that requires, like feeding the fire here. Yeah? Case of evil, you constantly have to feed it. This is the definition of hell. This is the Lord of forms, magnitude, masses, shadows, horrors. Say someone has control over the entire world. Of course, they're not going to, nobody lives that long ultimately, right? Say someone even lived 200 years. Doesn't make any difference. Definition of evil is like the fire that someone has in that wood-burning stove out in the deep woods. I have a wood-burning stove in my cabin. You constantly got to feed that sucker. It is not true power, which is the dielectric, which is energy, which is inertia. It is rest potential. Yes? It doesn't have to be fed. This has to be fed. But this is what ignorant and evil people think is power. This is exactly akin to magnetism. This is a centrifugal force and motion vector which is fed by the plane of inertia, or fed by counter space. You can say 0 point, counter space, subspace, ether. Who cares? Doesn't make any difference. Mother Nature doesn't care about silly little names ignorant little human beings give to inertia, or the ether, whatever you want to call it. The expanding balloon of power. Force must be fed. It is held by definition. True power is an inertia. It takes no force. True power that one seeks, i.e. transcendence, due to, and child of wisdom is no different than falling. Falling towards rest. The exercise of energy, the expenditure of same, is the power that most people in this world seek. They want control over their lives, they want control over others, they want more money, more. I got another rock here somewhere. I don't know where it's at. More and more and more. It can never be satiated, it can never be filled. The ancient word for evil is also, too, a number. It's called excess. Every ancient form of metaphysics says the same thing. Excess is evil, evil is excess. The old term for that is almost identical in English, excessius. In Latin, nearly the same, excessius. English, excess. Yeah, just like that enormous barn wood of lumber that Swedish person with her YouTube channel. It's like, that's not even going to get us through the winter. It's like 10 feet tall and 20 feet deep. It's like, that's barely enough wood to keep our cabin warm for the winter. Constantly has to be fed. You know, constantly have to go out in the wood, chop more, go out in the woods and chop more wood, chop more wood. You ever seen people like live in cold climates, have a wood burning stove? It's just they're constantly chopping wood. There's never enough wood. Constantly has to be fed. That's the force that 99.99% of people think is power. But it's not power. It's the opposite of power. The opposite of power is force. Wait a minute, and this is what an ignorant person would say, wait a minute, power is force. Yeah, from your perspective it is. I think that is power. No, it's not. Because it constantly has to be fed, there's no end to it, and it's the definition of hell. Isn't it interesting that hell has always been represented by fire? Yeah, isn't that neat? Because it constantly has to be fed. Heaven, however, and I don't care if you use the word heaven or transcendence or liberation, is represented by cool. It's represented by, I think I made the same mistake twice. Represented by, had too much coffee today. Didn't go to bed last night until 6 a.m. working on wallets. Represented by inertia. No different than falling. One person perpetually chopping wood, analogously, the other person falling towards rest. That is true power. It's the same as the black center of the ferrocell or the supercell that I've shown you. That is the plane of inertia. That's the counter space point. And it's not really a point. It has no Cartesian value on an XYZ coordinate system. It is literally, you can say subspace, ether, zero-point energy, counter space. I don't care what word you use for it. It makes no difference. There are two powers in this world. One is true power, i.e. inertia. Falling towards same involves putting the fire out and falling towards rest. Transcendence is not that easy. You have to disobjectify with the things that have to be fed, like the body, phenomena of life. This is what the phrase dead man walking is in reference to, someone who's died to the self before they actually physically die. Well, understand it. And this, what I've said in this video, whether you like the way I said it or not, is undeniable. Most people fundamentally, they want to keep feeding the fire. And people with wisdom is like, no, that's force. Force is a worldly power, but it is not true power. True power is always a cooling. It doesn't require burning anything or feeding anything. It is no different than falling. No different than falling, like in the case of the ferrocell images, falling in the black part of that either side of the pole, you can see the black center, falling towards the plane of inertia. That transcendence is disobjectification from the phenomena. The phenomena of the licking flames, the phenomena of the logs, the phenomena of perpetual expenditure. I need to eat more food so I could have more calories, so I can go out and chop more wood and keep feeding the fire and keep feeding the fire so I could, do more things and chop more wood and eat more food so I can go out and chop more wood. That's force. That's not power. That's not rest. That's not transcendence. This is what people don't realize. This is the reason why every evil person with no wisdom on this earth is interested in this force. It doesn't have to be this fire. I'm talking analogously about this fire. They want to exert force over others. Well, that's power. Every evil person on this earth that is interested in power is always interested in the false power. That false power can never be satiated. It can never be fulfilled. Ever, ever, ever. By definition, it is impossible. That is why they are evil. They seek after a false power. The false power of evil phenomena, no different than the fool is constantly trying to keep the fire fed. Did I keep this video simple? I think I did. I could have kept it a little bit shorter, so for that I apologize. Understand what the two powers are, the false power and the real power. There's the power that fools seek after, and there's the power that the very few wise seek after. This one is real, and it doesn't require anything once attained to keep it. This one, you can only hold on to it for a while, and to hold on to it for a while, whether it be 5 years, 10 years, or 50 years, takes enormous amount. It's hell. It's like sticking your hands around a hot coal. You can do it. It's going to be hell to do it. But this is what foolish people without wisdom, which of course what a fool is, want. If they had wisdom, they'd be after this. You can really explain the universe very simply, because it fundamentally is, at its very basis, very simple. And yet nobody knows this, because you're never taught this. I wasn't taught this either. I knew all my teachers were fools. I knew they were fools. I've known that at a very, very early age. Like, these people are fools. You know what's better for me instead of listening to these fools? Is I'll go to the library, I'll find the wisest people who have ever walked this earth, and I will learn from them! Not from Mrs. Applehead McBoop or whatever, you know, just imagine some sort of craggy teacher that you had, just clueless. I think I'm going to be a teacher. I don't understand anything, but I think I'd be a good teacher. Sure you are. Send you off to the indoctrination camp where you get taught not how to think and not how to be fascinated with nature anymore, and they pluck your brain out and stick in a bunch of useless regurgitated facts, and you become another pathetic worker robot. I knew all my teachers were fools, and I never listened to them. Thank goodness for that. Anyway, I hope you liked this video. Thanks for watching.